What's up everybody, Mike here, and in this Dragon Age Veilguard video I want to go over how this game is evolving relationships, not just like what you can have with NPCs, but how NPC relationships can just evolve and flow on their own without your involvement as well. Not only that, how Dragon Age Veilguard, is still gonna like interconnect like the lore and choices that have been made in previous games, mainly in like the decade it's been since Inquisition, things like that. So if you're wondering about that and curious about that, well, this is the video for you. As we edge closer to the release of Dragon Age Veilguard, there's been an overwhelmingly positive reaction from those who have had a chance to preview the game. An exhaustive character creator, slick combat, and expensive scenery definitely has left many people excited to get their hands on the Veilguard this October. But some of you that are Dragon Age fanatics might be wondering, about something incredibly vital, which is, who do we get to kiss? The Veilguard is definitely like a candy shop with different flavors of romance. And the game director, Corinne, talks about how they really did want to keep the romances like relatable, more grounded. Some of them are quite sensual, some of them are more physical, some are more romantic, some are even more spicy. And this is really nothing new. Each of the mainline games features romances that often culminate in a sex scenes. Inquisition, the most recent game in the series, took the steam to the next level from the underwear-clad liaisons of Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, and Bush did confirm previously that the Veilguard will feature nudity, though we don't know the current knowledge as the extent of that. Like, it's going to be like Baldur's Gate 3. In a departure from the romances of Inquisition and Origins, the Veilguard doesn't lock certain characters based on race or gender. Where characters from past games like Dorian or Alistair have preferences for specific genders, each companion in the Veilguard, like Dragon Age 2, is pansexual per Bush. She also expressed the deliberate choice in making every romanceable character a party member who travels with Rook. Contrast that to the two romanceable advisors of Inquisition, Cullen and Josephine, who remain at Skyhold while the Inquisitor is running around killing things. In fact, the way relationships, platonic or romantic, affect gameplay is totally new for the series. Developing these friendships with the companions obviously contributes to immersive roleplay, but there are practical benefits as well. Now an integral part of your crew's progression, relationship building contributes directly to leveling up companions and unlocking skill points. Nev, for instance, has the ability to slow time or heal you right out the gate, says Bush. But if you really get the opportunity to know her, whether it's platonic or romantic, you will be able to help shape her skills and augment those abilities that work really well with your own personal build. You may not be taking control of your companions during battle, but in building these bonds, Rook is better able to harness the particular strengths of each character. Character screens actually reflect the state of Rook's relationships. Nev, for instance, starts the game at Membrathus Contact. These titles will change as a player's connections with each of the 7 companions deepen, providing insight into the level you're at with each of them. It's a clever way of marrying the systems of Inquisition versus Origins and Dragon Age 2. The earlier 2 Dragon Age games reflected approval numerically, and Dragon Age 2 actually implemented a friendship or rivalry system that locked a player into whichever one you maxed out first. What that translated to were companions effectively unaffected by major decisions toward the end of the game. Inquisition sought to make relationships feel more organic by hiding any sort of numerical or visual indication of approval level. Though that meant you never quite knew where you stood with a character, the Veilguard's approach to approval systems wants the friendships you forge feel authentic, wants your companions to feel like people with their own internality. In romances, that means they'll act with their own agency. These are realized characters, Bush says. They might express interest in Rook, and sometimes Rook will initiate. Maybe they initiate with Rook, maybe you let them down. Maybe you commit to an exclusive romance with another one of your companions. Don't worry about leaving your friends out in the cold if you aren't interested though. They will find love in their own ways. Sometimes that means they'll find love with each other. When you make some of the truly gut-wrenching choices and you know that there's a romantic bond there, it makes those decisions just that more difficult. Bush further explains about how even though this is a magical realm where fantastic things happen, that thread of being able to relate to and see these experiences that move you is very essential to us. Bush also assures us as players that this doesn't just pertain to romantic relationships, but platonic ones as well. You're going to get to know them really well. You're going to develop trust, understanding. That doesn't mean you're always going to agree, Bush says, I like to think of relationships not necessarily as how much they like you, but how well you know them. And relationships has always been like a cornerstone of Dragon Age games, the series itself. And it's cool to see how they're trying to expand upon it, make it better, make it more feel natural. But that's not all. Bush also noted that not everything is sunshine and rainbows, you know. Potential love triangles and other conflicts could add tension to the game. When you have companions who are interested in each other, it creates interesting choices. And there's a possibility that you could sabotage another character's relationship. They might come to you for advice, and depending on your answer, your advice, it might be good advice, it might be bad. So another cool mechanic as far as interfering with other characters' relationships, in case maybe you're like the type that maybe gets mad because you couldn't romance a particular character and they went with someone else. It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna do this. I don't know. So not too much there yet, fully detailed, but exciting stuff. And then when it comes to like the lore and how it's going to connect to Inquisition, this makes sense in general, what's been talked about and explained by even John Epler. The core story of Dragon Age 4, or Dragon Age Veilguard as we know it, always was going to center around Solas. And Solas, of course, was once the companion to the player character in the Inquisitor in Dragon Age Inquisition. He disappeared at the end of the base game, only for a mass reveal at the end of the Trespasser DLC. Solas is actually the elven god known as Fenharo, or the Dreadwolf, and he has plans to tear down what's known as the Veil in order to restore the world of the ancient elves. Doing so will destroy the world of Thedas as we know it, essentially making your once friend or even romantic interest the new big bad. And essentially this is the continuation of that story, and they were committed, the devs are, to telling this type of story. Even at the beginning of the game, like when you do your character creator and you start things up, Veilguard has you being recruited by Dragon Age series mainstay Varric to help stop Solas' ritual. Rook foils Solas' plan and accidentally frees two blighted elven gods in the process. And it's clear that we can see that obviously Rook is going to have his own unique relationship with Solas, just as the Inquisitor did before him. And in Dragon Age Veilguard, it's going to allow us to learn even more about Solas, because he wasn't always the character he is now. Thousands of years ago, he was a rebel. He was the kind of person who stood up for the little guy. He still has a tremendous love for spirits who he sees as these beings that are being unfairly treated, unfairly maligned. So Rook becomes this character that we could explore some aspects of Solas personally, but also give you a protagonist that, because it's a Power game, you can shape to a large degree. You might be wondering like, well, how is this going to ease new players in or even returning players because of the wildly expansive lore? Well, the campaign starts with a surprisingly effective recap from Varric, and it has been clarified by John that Rook, like the character Rook, has known Varric as well as Harding for a while, but still relatively a blank slate aside from that. And if you're wondering what like became the Inquisitor, well, it looks like it's been confirmed that the Inquisitor becomes a religious figure, whether they choose to embrace it or not, essentially heralded as a messiah while amassing a wealth of political power as leader of the Inquisition. At the end of Inquisition, you basically are the chosen one, John talks about, and eventually you shut down the Inquisition, or you hand it over to the Chantry, because through this almost mythological hero building that's come around you as a character, it's become too big and unwieldy. With Rook, the devs want to give players the opportunity to see things from a different perspective in the world. Someone who's kind of had to earn their place. Bush even goes into about bringing an Inquisitor into the Veilguard was simultaneously one of the most challenging and most rewarding things that they've done as a team. Reason being because the whole 10-year gap of events from Inquisition to Dragon Age Trespasser. Then you got to factor in the fans that have such an attachment to Inquisition and the characters and lore and all that it represents. And it's been made clear that by John Epler that there's obviously going to be a very personal relationship with Solas between Solas and the Inquisitor in Veilguard, so it looks like that'll be addressed in some capacity. And the Inquisitor is going to feel, I guess, guilty or responsible for what Solas is doing to the world. And in case you didn't know about this, as far as how they're going to handle, like, oh, you know, previous saves or whatever, or how that's going to factor in as far as what choice you made before, well, the Veilguard is going to allow players to select a few story decisions via tarot cards in the Adventures Past section of the character creator. So you will not have access to the keep to sort of like transfer over your save file. And basically, this is going to allow you to remake your Inquisitor in the Adventures Past section. Those decisions are going to be who your Inquisitor romanced, with the options of gender, lineage locked in the same way that they were in Inquisition. Whether or not you disbanded the Inquisition, and whether you vow to stop Solus or save him. Now, this doesn't seem like a lot of choices here when it comes to series like Dragon Age, and the reason that the devs give for this is that the team focused on choices that they felt they could react to meaningfully, not just a cameo or one-liner. And this is also part of the advantage of moving the setting up to Northern Thedas, with the prior games in the series taking place in Southern Thedas. Clearly, there's a delicate balance that the devs are trying to achieve here. Obviously, they can't, make everybody happy. They can only do so much, from what it sounds like, to have, like, your decisions from Inquisition matter, at least in this game. It is a bummer, though, that they can't just do the keep way and just have it all continue that way. I'm not sure exactly what was the technical hurdles behind that. I feel like they probably could have figured something out with that, honestly, but it is what it is. We'll just have to do what we can as players to make the Inquisitor, as far as what we're given as far as choices, be meaningful in what we decide on, and see where it goes from how it actually impacts the main story in relation with the Solus and how things are going to just unravel, basically. This is still some cool stuff here. I don't fully agree with some of the stuff they're doing. Like I said, it sucks. Bummer, they're limiting us on some stuff. I'm still concerned. I'm glad that at least from a lot of the hands-on experiences from different sources, they're excited about it. I'm personally still kind of concerned and mixed feelings on it, but I will be playing it and I'll see if I like it. I may not like it. Well, I don't know. I hope it's a good game. I don't know if it's gonna be like game of the year type material yet. I want to beat it and then, analyze and reflect on how I feel about it. But let me know your thoughts on this, guys. What do you think about this? Are you excited for the evolved romances and relationships in this game? Are you excited and happy about how they're trying to connect this game to Inquisition? Or do you not like it? Or what they're doing with the whole Adventures Past thing? Let me know. Love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like. It helps a ton. Subscribe if you're new. My name's Mike. Thanks for watching.